guys, today I'm just going to be patching some plaster and fixing some floorboards. We've had an old electric heater been removed and we're going to be putting in a new wood fire heater. So come along and I'll show you how to fix this all up. Now we want to get this old concrete out of the way. It's pretty thin and it's already come loose, so we can't really reuse that. So we'll knock out all this concrete and build the floor back out so we can support the new tiles and the heater. Alright, now all this concrete's out of the way, we can cut this plaster out, we'll get a clean straight line and we'll get rid of these dodgy bits here. Once all the plaster's cut out of the way, we can start thinking about timber framing and then we'll be ready to put the new plaster sheet on. Now you want to join the new plaster on a stud, so we'll have to cut along here till we find the next stud and that's when we'll cut our vertical line. Okay, so I've just checked the length here of what I'll be cutting out and I should be able to get away with going to the next stud over. That means I can just cut out this dodgy bit as well. So if you want to try to find the stud and you don't have a plaster knife, you can use a nail or an nail punch. And just put little holes all the way along until you hit the stud, and that's where you know it is. And the studs are usually 450 to 500 mil apart. There you go, just the timber there, so we should be good to come out here and cut out the rest of that. I'm going to try to keep this skirting in for now. It might get cut back later, but for now we can just slide the new plaster sheet behind it, just in case it's getting kept. You want to just cut through the no more gaps. That'll just help protect the timber and the plaster that's staying from any peeling or anything like that. There we go, now we can see we've got timber along here and down here to join the new sheet on. Alright, that was a bit of hard work. The old plaster's full of this hair. Makes it really hard to cut, but it makes it really strong. The new stuff these days isn't anywhere near as hard to cut. So if you're unlucky, you're going to have to put up with that, but now this is out of the way, we can put a couple studs in to pick up the new plaster. We'll put in a new bottom plate, that way we can nail the skirting to something, and then we can start putting our joists in and then patch up the floor. Quickly run over what I've done here. Put a couple studs in to pick up the plaster, no bigger than 450 centres. So these gaps between here and here can't be anything bigger than 450. Same with the floor. You want to make sure the plaster's supported the whole way along, top, bottom and sides. So that's why I put this block in here, and that's why I put these blocks in along the bottom. Now we've framed out the floor to pick up some chipboard when we get that. That'll cover up this hole, and then we can tile over the top for the new fireplace. Now before you plaster, obviously you want to make sure that these are all straight and in a line. Pull out any old nails, make sure all the timber's flush with each other so there's no nasty lumps in the new plaster. So I'm going to check that these are all straight, and then I'll put some insulation in, and then I'll put the plaster sheet on. Okay, so with that straight edge, we can see that it's rocking on one of these studs. Now this one here is too far out, we've got to buzz that back. Then we might have to put some packing on this one. We've got our Neapolitan insulation installed here. You just want to make sure that the studs are clear so that you don't squish any of the insulation between the timber and the plaster. That'll cause lumps in the plaster, so just tuck it in, measure it up, and then cut it, screw it on. Stud adhesive on your studs. This works instead of screws. It helps take up any dips and bumps in the timber. So you don't want to be putting it on the perimeter, you only want to be putting it in the middle. Time to stop up now. So we've got our tub full of water here. If you're using powder, just always add the powder to the water instead of adding water to the powder. You can buy pre-mixed joint putty. This stuff dries out. I don't think it's as strong, and if you leave it laying around for too long, it'll go mouldy. So this is destined for the bin. Now we just want to add this to the water a little bit at a time. Alright, this is the kind of consistency we're after, comparable to toothpaste. Now we'll just take this inside, cover up all our screw holes and all the joints. Now normally you can use joint tape to reinforce the joints. These joints are completely supported by timber, so there's no need for this. Say if there's no noggins between the joists and both sheets have a rebate, that's when you can use plaster tape. But we don't need it, we're just going to slap the patio now. first coat's always going to be pretty rough. You just want to make sure you get enough on there to give it some strength. Let this dry, we'll come back with some top coat. Base coat dry overnight, so now we can do some top coat. First we can sand it back and use a straight edge to check for any bumps in the plaster. Just run it over like this. And if you see any rubbing marks, you know that's a high spot. And we can focus on sanding areas like that. Now you can use just a hand sander like this if you want. I've got an electric version, so I'll be using this. Once it's all smooth, we can get ready for some top coat. Now this is our top coat, it's the same as the base coat except it's pre-mixed for a smoother result. You just want to give it a quick stir before you put it on, and then it's the same as everything else. Just smear it on the wall. Now the wider your trowel is, the better result you're going to end up with. It really helps feather in the edges, make it look like it was always meant to be this way. Now plastering can be a bit tricky. The hard part is usually knowing when to stop. You can overwork the plaster. Sometimes you just got to get it as good as you can, let it dry, sand it, and then coat it again and repeat that process until you're happy with the result. We spent a bit of time marking out these tiles on the ground last night. So this blue outer border is going to be the tiles, and this is going to be the centre of the new fireplace. So we need to nail some underlay down, and then we can stick our tiles to the cement sheet underlay. Alright, now this is held in position and we've lined everything up with our masking tape. We can lift these edges up and just peel that out. If you've never had the pleasure of using one of these, I can tell you it's a lot of fun. So we'll pull this masking tape out, nail this off, and we'll cut the next sheet. Now another thing to note is your measurements off the wall might be, 960 here, 960 here. But you've also got to consider the line of the existing floorboards. Now these are a bit skewed to the wall, but it's going to throw your eye out if this line here and this line here aren't parallel. So I think that's more important than your measurements. The measurements are pretty close, but it's all about what looks right. It's all about parallel lines. So that's why we've skewed this just a little bit to compensate for the floorboards being out as well. This here is just a regular concrete diamond blade. That's good enough to cut through cement sheet. We'll just check this edge here with the floorboards here as well. Alright, now for the fun part. Now we're up to tiling. I like to cut all the tiles in first, Then I can move them around, get the spacings right, I can adjust them or cut them, and then I can mix up all my glue and just stick them down in one hit. Also, if I lay them out, I can figure out the metal trim that goes around the edges to hide the sides of the tiles. Tiles, you'll be able to score and snap these, but unfortunately they're pretty thick. So we'll just score our line and then we'll have to cut it with the angle grinder. Scoring it first will help stop the edges from shelling out. So obviously that's going to give us the best result. I've got a new tile cutting blade here, it's going to give me the cleanest cut. Now obviously if there's any damage on the tiles, try cut them off. So a few of the corners are chipped on these, so just mark them so you can see them and then make sure they get cut off. It's time to cut our aluminium edge. That's going to hide the front edge of all the tiles, give it a nice neat border. When you're measuring these, you want to make sure you allow for the grout line that's going to be between the tile and the border. So measure it about 6 mil longer, because your grout lines are usually about 3 mil. Once you're happy with the layout of your tiles, you can either label them and draw a diagram so you know where to put them back, or just stack them up in a logical sequence so that as you pick them up, they'll just automatically end in the right place. It's time to mix up some tile glue. Now set your drill to the low setting if it's got 2 speeds. Like always, add the powder to the water. Just do a little bit at a time. Now basically what we're looking for here is soft peaks. So you can see when you pull the mixer out of the glue, you get these soft peaks. They kind of hold their shape but tip over at the top. Now if your tiles are really big and really heavy, you kind of want a thicker mixture, and if they're small, you can get away with a runnier mixture. Now once you're done mixing, you want to clean off the mixer on your drill. Either just spin it around in a bucket of water or hose it off. Now this is a notch trowel. This is what you use for spreading tile glue. The bigger your tiles are, the bigger you want these grooves to be. So this is a 12 mil, it's the biggest one I have. You use that on floor tiles anywhere between 300 by 600 or 600 by 600. Now these are called a small tool. They can be pretty handy, and then you just want a 4-inch scraper. And we'll get ready to spread this glue on. one of these plastic wedges that you use to space out the tiles. Just run along the gaps and try and clear out any of the glue that might be poking through. You want to clear this out so that the grout has a good body. If you just put a tiny bit of grout in, it'll probably crack and pop out. So you really want to put as much grout in as you can, which means you have to get as much glue out of the way as possible. That's it for today. We've finished off the tiling. For now, we've got to just let the glue dry, and we can come back tomorrow and pull out our spaces and then grout. It looks like a bit of a mess, but you just got to leave it like this for a day. Got some like levels and bits of tile and stuff. They're kind of weighing down the aluminium trim, just so they don't pop up and they're all flush. So we won't have any dramas tomorrow once everything's dry, and we'll keep going. Alright, the tiles are clean, so we're ready for grout. You guys know the drill, just water, powder, toothpaste. Alright, the aim of the game here is to get as much grout in these joints as possible. You don't need a squeegee like this, but they are mighty useful. You can get away with just using a scraper. Unless you break it. You want to work opposite the joints, so you don't want to be dragging across like that. You'll be pulling grout out. So to force as much in as you can, go left and right or diagonally. Once all your grout's in, just let it dry up a bit. Then you want to grab a sponge. You'll be rinsing this pretty regularly, so grab a bucket of water as well. And same as the squeegee, just go diagonally across the tiles. Keep going over all the tiles until you get rid of all the excess grout. If you notice any low spots or pinholes or anything like that, you can fill it up as you go. While we let the grout dry inside, I just want to share a quick tip with you guys. When you're cleaning out the excess grout, cleaning out your tools and things, you don't want to be washing it down any sinks like that, because grout is a cement-based product, and cement's capable of drying underwater. So you don't want to wash cement down your drains and have it dry even though it's underwater and block your drains. Now I usually like to give the grout about 30 minutes to dry before you give it another wash. Okay, for our second wash, the procedure I like to follow is just to do one wipe, flip it over, do another, and then rinse, and then just repeat that procedure until you've cleaned all the tiles again. And once we let all that dry off, we'll come back and caulk all these edges. The last thing left to do here is just caulk the edges where the aluminium meets the timber floors. Now you want to make sure that gap there is clean and dry. You don't need much to do this, but the secret is soapy water or spray and wipe or window cleaner, something like that. So you can lay your bead in there, spray it with some soapy water, and then grab a squeegee designed for this, or a paddle pop stick or a window packer, anything with a bit of a curve on the edge, you know, even the back of a teaspoon if you really want. So I'll show you how that's done. First thing you want to do is cut an angle on the tip of your nozzle. And then just slowly run along, squeezing the silicone as you go. Now you really want to make sure there's enough silicone in there, because once you spray it down with soapy water, it's not going to stick to anything. That's the point. It's not going to stick to the floor. It's not going to stick to your squeegee. But if there's a gap in here, it's not going to fill up that gap once it's wet. Now you want to grab yourself some old newspaper or a rag or something so you've got somewhere to clean off your squeegee. Once I'm happy with that, I'll just give it another spray and then go over it with your finger. That'll help out, even out any bumps you might have left behind. Done for now. I'm going to let all this dry. I'll come back tomorrow and sand the last bit of plaster. Probably going to be a couple weeks till it's all painted and the fireplace is installed, so hopefully I can come back and get some footage of that and we can see the end result. Once you've let the grout dry overnight as well, you might see some hazing, like a bit of powder on top left over from the grout and the water. You can get these white Scotch pads. So once the grout's dry, you can just use one of these, scrub it all off, and then give it a final wash, and that'll be it.